Yeah, let's start the module. Let's continue with Verilog lecture. So this lecture, this discussion, we'll discuss how to code in Verilog, how to model a hardware, any digital hardware in Verilog. So first of all, we should know what is module. So module is the total abstraction or the top level module or top level abstraction in Verilog. It has different input, all these inputs and all the outputs, and the name of the your design is to be specified using a module keyword. Okay, so this here goes the instantiation, it goes the code. Like first module, this is keyword, module is keyword. Yeah, module is a keyword, then your name, this is your user different name, maybe you can write your own name. Okay, then you have to specify all this input and outputs in a design. Here I have in1, in2, and goes to in1. So all the design, all these things, and output also. You have to go write that in just name as well. Then you have to specify individually which one of them are output, which one of them are input, what are the number of bits, etc. So we have discussed. We have tried the module keyword, then the name of the module, then the ports which are the input and outputs, then specify which one are outputs, which are the inputs. Okay. Then we write the code here, and then end with the end module. Okay, so everything we write in Verilog must inside a module and end with an end module. Okay, so this is the very first step in a Verilog code. Okay, so these are different input, output, inouts. Inouts are those lines which have both input and output. Okay, the more thing about red journal we'll discuss in the upcoming lectures. Now we'll take an example of a half adder. So we know we are taking this half adder as a big module. Okay, first of all, now we see what are the inputs. A and B are the inputs. What are the outputs? S and C are the outputs. Okay, now what is the name of the module? Is half adder. Okay, now first module keyword, that then half adder the name of our module, then the port declaration. What are the input and outputs? S, C, A, B. We just name the variable or the ports S, C, A, B. Now after that we have to specify which one of them is output and which one of them are input. Okay, so we specified output are S and C are output, then input A, B, A and B are input. Okay, then we go to model the hardware. What are the hardware used? Now we are using XOR and AND gate. This is XOR gate. Okay, and now we are using an AND gate also. So using these two gates, this is my design is complete. So using this keyword XOR, I am accessing the library of the Verilog or Verilog compiler, which has a predefined family of gates, and XOR is one of them. And so I'll write this in a special line. S is output first, then two inputs A and B. Okay, then AND output first, C, right? C first, input and input A and B. So this is the format. This is the name of the gate, then output, then in1, then in2. This is my logical operation model. Okay, now I have changed small thing here. What is the change here? Instead of after XOR, you can see they have written one more alpha G1 or G2. Now this is also is possible. You can name each gate, like G1 is first, so here I have G1 is the XOR gate and G2 is my AND gate. So this is also possible. Model other things remaining the same: output, input, input, output, input, input. So this is another way of modeling and naming each gate. Okay, so we can see XOR. I'm accessing an XOR gate with the instance name G1. So I'm instantiating the gate XOR. Okay, so each the module within the library we can instantiate in our design using the same method. Now this one more addition. What I have done here is added some delays also. This is the way you're doing give a delay to your gate. Usually if you don't give a delay to all gates, it is assumed as equal delay. But if you delay, for better modeling of hardware, it is much recommendable that we will get exactly what is happening in the circuit as far as timing is concerned. So here I assume XOR gate has 2-unit delay, term unit, and gate has 1 time unit delay, because XOR gate is having much number of transistors, and more number of transistors mean more delay. Now let's use the first implementation of half adder. Okay, now this is data flow modeling. So here I'm using a new model. Instead of the gates, I'm done separate assign, a statement of assign I'm used. Now assign S equal to A XOR B. I'm used the equation way, a simple model using a data. A and B are input data, S is output data, and A XOR B. This is the way of modeling in a data way, data flow way. This is called data flow modeling. Other things remaining same: module keyword, then name of your module, then imports declaration, then input and output declaration. Then so assign is a statement which gives the value to a net or a wire. You know, a lot of hardware, every hardware we have a lot of wires or the data flow signals, data flowing paths we call it. So assigns a wire or a conductor a value whose value is given by ax or b, and this is always driven, this value s which is given by assign statement is always driven by the value of ax or b. And similarly c is always driven by value of a and b, so it's called assign. It's a combination logic. All these combination logic are always driven by the value of ax or b. Now, as I already discussed, we already discussed two levels of modeling. Now, but there are many layers of modeling in Verilog. One is we have discussed gate level modeling right now, and then we have data flow, and now we have another modeling of behavioral modeling as well. This is more easier for computer science people or people who just know the behavior of a module and just want to model it using Verilog. It's much easier because we don't need to know the hardware for modeling Verilog, because we know the behavior of a circuit, behavior of a module or behavior of a system like a microcontroller. We still can model it using a C like constructs or functions within Verilog. We'll see. Now let's take another example. So we have multiplexer. This multiplexer have 4 gates, 2 AND gates, 1 NOT gate. This is 2 AND gates, 1 NOT gate, and 1 OR gates. Okay, so we have one select bus. So what is the use of multiplexer? We can see the earlier digital lectures. Multiplexer have n number of inputs, and based on some select signals, we select one among the n inputs and give it to the output. So here I have 2 inputs A and B, and among this A and B, only one will be selected and given to the output based on the select signal. This is select. Okay, so you can see select is given a NOT gate, so and given to the B, and directly it is given to the AND gate for A is another input. So one among this will be activated, one among this AND gate will be activated at one time, and that will go to the OR gate. So at least one of these lines will be one at a time with a value of A or B based on select signal and will be coming in the output. Let's see how this model the multiplexer. Okay, let's start with, we know the module keyword, and now here's one wrong thing. Here we can write the name here, name of your hardware module. For example, this hardware module, and the name is, for example, AB. So I should put the name AB. You can put the name AB here. So module AB, A and B select out of the ports. Now we'll specify input are A, B select, output are out, and not. Now you model the input signals. Not input is select, and select is output of the not, and select is the input. They can and A1. Okay, and input are B and select, output is select, and then next AND gate input is A and select, and output is select A bar, select this one. Okay, and or I have select A and select B, sorry, or I select A and select B as its input, and output is out. We can see the output is out. So this is the way of modeling multiplexer. Okay, this another way of using data flow modeling is much easier. We can use one single statement like assign out. We can say select and A or select bar and B. It's a much easier way of modeling this multiplexer. You can appreciate this thing. Data flow modeling is called data flow modeling. It's the one equation. Now I have used one more modeling here, behavioral modeling. So we all discussed structural modeling, we discussed data flow modeling. Now what about behavioral modeling? In behavioral modeling, you can see this code, everything is same. We have this statement called always. Now always is statement whenever change is in a sensitivity list, which is called the bracket braces, there's a signal A or B or select. So whenever change in this select signal happens, the always statement is executed. So what is select statement? If select is 0, output is B. If select is 1, output is A. So you just need to code like a C construct. So whatever change in sensitivity list, this code is executed, and select is 1, B is the output. Sorry, select is 0, B is the output, select is 1, A is the output. So just like a C, we can model. This is called behavioral modeling. This is very so easy. So we already did structural modeling using gates, data flow modeling using assign, and behavioral modeling using just C constructs or behavior of the logic circuit. We'll go a bit deeper. Now compare these two things, structural and data flow modeling. In structural, well, we are writing a lot of codes. Each gate, NOT gate, AND gate, again OR gate. There are a lot of gates. As many number of gates are there, we need to write the codes in structural language. But you can see data flow language, we don't need much code. Just assign, out, select, and all those things. Very simple. So why does the trade-off? So why should we go for structural when you have so simple way of writing in data flow or behavior? So the main advantage of structural is much optimized than data flow. because in hardware level we specify the directly hardware, so the compiler doesn't need to do any confusion, like, because here we are human is directly giving the hardware to the Velo compiler, but in the second case the Velo compiler or the synthesizer has to design its own hardware and model its own based on our instructions, based on our logic. So it may not be optimized. That is the trade-off. Okay, the structural way we know what is going to happen, what is the area, power, etc. But the second case, the is power with the compiler. So it may not be performance-wise the best way to use the data flow compared to structure flow, and will be obviously taking more. It is structurally unoptimized, means it will be definitely taking more power dissipation, more area, less performance. So there's a trade-off. Structure always has its own advantages. Now behavioral flow is much easier because it's procedural programming way. If any programmer want to learn Verilog, the best way to go for a behavioral code. And this also makes it much easier when you design complicated designs like processor, cores, RAM, memory, and even GPU, graphic processing unit, microcontrollers. All this can be designed using Verilog modeling, using behavioral modeling in Verilog. Okay. So very simple statement, begin, if else. You can use switch statement, you can use conditional statement, you can use all the C constructs. Lot of things you can do, and just knowing the behavior of your module. Now in Verilog it supports hierarchical design. That means in hierarchical design a top module is divided into sub-modules. Okay, and these sub-modules can be again divided into small modules, so that each small designs can be divided into different teams, can be distributed among different teams, and team A, team 2, and this can be coordinated by central project manager. And it is much easier for testing purpose also. Each of the sub module will having their own specifications, speed, time, performance, as well as power dissipation, etc. So all those optimized, they can be combined together from a big module. Okay, so for example, I design a full adder, I make a half adder, and this half adder can be designed using AND, set 2 input and get XOR again, so on and so forth. So one of the advantages is top level design or bottom level design. In a top level design, top bottom design, or top bottom design, we start from top and go to the bottom, the top one. Another option is we can go from the bottom to top. That is, we can start designing the small things first, then go for bigger thing, etc. Okay, so these are the two ways of design, and the more advanced concept we'll discuss in the next upcoming lecture.